Welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, Wayne Liu. It is time for the first ever play-in game in Toronto Raptors history. Raptors take on the Chicago Bulls tonight at 7 p.m., and I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong and my good friend of the program, Big V, Vivek Jacob of Raptors.com. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. You got me hyped with that intro. First ever play-in game in Raptors history. I'm ready for this now.
Hold on.
Stop
What
lying.
is happening
Why are you
with
lying?
V's mic, man?
What is with the lying?
Alex, look at V's mic right now.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on.
Why
you
is it
hold it up for
dipping?
30 seconds while I fix the mic. My
Oh yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Why is V dipping, man? No, shouts to V for joining us. As Will mentioned, the Toronto Raptors taking on the Chicago Bulls tonight at Scotiabank Arena, 7 p.m. We're gonna get to talking about teeing up the game, obviously, a little bit later, but also lots of other stuff happening in the NBA, especially last night, the first night of the play-in. Couple of exciting games, I guess. Guys, we could start with the Atlanta Hawks upsetting the Miami Heat, 116-105. So they've got the 7th seed now, which means the winner of tonight's game will have to go to Miami for a rock fight on Friday to try to end Udonis Haslem's career. I was actually a Rogers employee supporting the Blue Jays yesterday at the Rogers Center, so I didn't get to catch this game. Saw the highlights. It seemed to me that Heat culture just got outworked. You know, Clint Capella, 21 boards. Atlanta out-rebounded them 63-39, 22-6 on the offensive glass, 26-6 edge for Atlanta in second chance points. Was that the takeaway from yesterday's game? Atlanta just outworked them?
Yeah, I mean, I think Atlanta jumped on the Heat early. It was pretty clear that Atlanta was not going to capitulate like they had in previous games against Miami. You know, obviously you think back to last year's first round series. You think about even this year in the regular season, the Heat won 3 of the 4 matchups. No, I thought Atlanta came out really strong, and they played a really good team game more than anything else. Like, they had a lot of guys step up and contribute. They had 4 guys off the bench that scored double digits.
Oh, wish we need that tonight.
We're going to need that tonight. I think this is one of the themes of the play-in, right? It was just like all these, because, look, your number one option is probably going to be neutralized to some degree. That's where the game plan's going to happen. You're going to need other guys to step up, and they got great contributions in the first half from guys like Sadiq Bey, for example. Onyeka Okongwu threw down a whole bunch of lobs and was a force down low. Even though some of the rookies were contributing, like Jalen Johnson, threw a couple of lobs, made a couple of athletic plays himself. And of course Bogdanović is solid. Like, they just outplayed the Heat the whole time. And even though Miami was able to cut it down to like single digits a couple of times, mostly because Kyle Lowry was going off, the Hawks were just consistently able to deliver answers. And even when they didn't, they got 22 offensive rebounds, which does feel like a very repeatable thing that you can do to Miami because they are just small across the board. Like, Bam is playing center, right? He can get outworked. But it's more importantly that he's just surrounded by a ton of guards. And even when they come off the bench, it's like Kevin Love or like Cody Zeller. So yeah, if the Raptors end up matching up with Miami, if they win tonight, that's a formula the Raptors got to capitalize on too. But just well played to Atlanta, man. I just think that I think they're obviously a very mid team in terms of the results, but at the same time, like, the talent on the roster, sometimes when you watch it work, you're like, okay, like this pretty good in terms of what they have here. So yeah, congrats to Atlanta. What about you, V?
Yeah, I thought it came down to, like, obviously you mentioned the offensive rebounding, but they couldn't contain Trae Young or DeJounte Murray at all.
Right.
And so when you get that consistent dribble penetration, I mean, the Raptors have had those kind of problems all year, then the whole defense breaks down because they have to collapse, and then that's when you get the athleticism of Onyeka Okongwu and John Collins just getting on the offensive glass and really beating them up. And so I thought that was like the primary source of all the problems. And then obviously good strategy on the part of Quinn Snyder as well, to know that was going to be a big advantage for them in this matchup. And they exploited it. It was funny because, like, going into the game, someone asked me, who would you rather face between Atlanta or Miami if the Raptors were to win against Chicago? And I was like, I don't feel great about either one.
Yeah.
But when you think about Atlanta's guards and their ability to just constantly blow by guys, I was like, I'll take my chances with Miami in that rock fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry, this was a Miami Heat high, his 2 years there, 33 points.
Yep.
Great performance from Kyle.
I don't. How many other playoff games has he even had 33? Like
Yeah,
this
I'm
might
trying
be
to
one of the 5 times he's had 30 in the.
I can think
in
of
the
a
playoffs.
0. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay, all right. We don't need to do this,
Well,
man.
I'm just going I'm just going from the start of the numbers.
What
That's
are we
it.
doing,
100
man?
to 0
My-
real quick.
Oh
My
my
bad.
God.
My bad.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh, we're
yeah. So
not
Kyle had
bantering today?
33.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
he had
bad.
great. He had a
Okay.
great score. No slander to Kyle Lowry tonight, man. Come on.
Oh, okay.
He was the only who played well last night.
I'm literally highlighting him.
No,
right
that
now.
was vintage Kyle though.
Mhm.
It was like
yeah.
he had a shot going. He was able to drive and get to the basket. He had a couple of those, those typical like I'm gonna bully my way through and just force my body into everyone.
Bro,
Get a shot
I don't
up.
know how he does it. You know what I mean? Like,
But it
Kyle-
works.
Apparently, it works.
This guy uses every part of the body to get to 33, man. I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that. No, they didn't get the game they wanted from Jimmy too, right? Like you figure in a one game,
Yeah.
No,
you know,
that
he
was
was 6
weird.
of 19. And, I guess Boston Celtics fans can breathe a sigh of relief. I know there were some parts, of the fan base that I guess it's just Bill Simmons that was fearful of seeing Boston Miami in the first
Right.
round. So Atlanta's going to play Boston. Let's do a quick 2 minutes on this. Like, is there anything interesting about the series to you guys? Because to me, I feel like Boston's just going to take care of business. I feel like they're just a different level of team.
Yeah, I think Boston's a flat out better team.
Their
I mean,
perimeter defense is so much better.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And again, when it comes down to containing that dribble penetration, now you have Marcus Smart and Derek White. And, we'll see what the health status of Jaylen Brown is with his hand and when he's able to come back and play. But I still feel like they're just going to have too much firepower.
Yeah. Is that going to go anything more than 5 games, Will?
I hope so, just because I do think that I don't know. It was interesting watching Atlanta yesterday because they had the kind of depth that I think is another underrated strength of Boston's is the fact that, when they go to the bench, there isn't as much of a drop off and they're able to sort of win all 48 minutes in that way. And so, I mean, if Atlanta's bench can play like this, then that'll keep them competitive. I do see them struggling to create certain advantages just because, I mean, like compared to, Miami's perimeter defenders, whether it's Strus or Hero or, Vincent or even Kyle at this age.
Atlanta didn't even shoot the ball well. They were 10 for 40 from 3.
Yeah. Well, luckily they got a whole bunch of offensive rebounds, so they're good. But,
Okay,
like,
this is what the Raps need to do tonight.
yes, and
Possession battle,
Friday
baby.
against Miami. But no, I do think that I mean, like they're gonna have a lot harder time like getting free against Marcus Smart or getting free against Derek White and those kind of guys. But I mean, I really want this to be a good series.
Okay.
Because I am looking at the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and like aside from Cavs, Knicks, I'm looking at like kind of lopsided series.
Yeah,
So,
it's tough.
yeah.
Yeah, that's enough time for the East play-in game.
Okay.
No, the game of the night last night was the classic at Staples. I'm not calling it crypto, man. Lakers, Wolves. It was wild too because this was LeBron's first play-in / playoff game in front of a full crowd as a Laker. Like he has not played a single game.
Wait, when he hit I saw
it
3
was,
rims and I shot from the middle.
It was like a
one?
half-empty type crowd. It was still
Really?
restrictions. Yeah.
Wow.
And the other run was in the bubble, right? So,
Of course.
and that was it.
right. Yeah.
And in between, Dennis Schroeder has been a Laker twice. And
Bro, he was
yesterday,
excellent last night.
he was amazing. One of the greatest celebrations, and AD had to go and ruin it. So Schroeder hit the go-ahead through a great pass from LeBron too, right on that
Yeah.
final possession. And the fourth quarter was hilarious. Like I think Cat picked up his 5th foul with about 9 minutes to go, and the Wolves were in control pretty much the whole night. They were up almost double digits, and then the Wolves went scoreless for 6 minutes, and they had 2 field goals over an 11-minute span. The Lakers came back. It was a tie game, and then Schroeder hits the go-ahead 3, does the ice in the vein celebration right in front of the Wolves bench.
Oh yeah.
Should someone on the Wolves have also punched Dennis Schroeder? Because that level of disrespect. Like, I know Austin Rivers was debating whether to catch that fine because he was standing right there.
Hey, man.
But he pretended like you couldn't see it.
I know,
He
but
was-
that's even worse. Like,
No, that's what I'm saying. It was so bad. He literally looked up into the air like, I don't know what's happening right now.
yeah, that was so disrespectful, man. Like, should someone on the Wolves have done something? Chris Finch said before the game, they're a bunch of fighters. The quote, he
Wait,
did say
no
this.
way,
No,
no
this
way.
was
He
a
actually
direct
said
quote.
this?
Yeah,
Oh,
he did
wow.
say this. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like,
Or is that a technical?
no,
I've
it's
seen.
not a technical.
Okay.
Man. What?
I'm not trying to be Ben Taylor, but like
Yeah.
they call those taunting fouls like after dunks.
We're talking about
Why
in
are
that
we-
scenario. Well, that should have been a game-winning 3
Yeah.
in the play-in. Like
Yeah,
that's
you
huge.
gotta
Like,
let that slide.
No, man, no technical.
gotta
in
This
that
man's
scenario.
dancing right in front of another man's bench.
Who
What if
cares?
Pat Bev does that tonight, man? How would you feel?
I need Matt Detler to step in. I already told you, man. If
You
Matt-
would feel a little differently.
Yeah.
Anyways,
for
he hits
sure.
the three. Looks like the game is done.
Mhm.
And then they find Mike Conley in the corner for this like just prayer shot, and then AD fouls him. First of all, agree with the foul? Hit him
It was a
after the
soft foul.
shot.
It was
Hit
a
him
soft
after the
foul.
shot, right?
I don't know if he landed in his landing space or not.
Mhm.
It was a great pass to get Conley so deep into the corner. It was like the deepest part of the corner possible without him stepping out of bounds or on the 3-point line. I think the issue was AD didn't communicate the switch well because he just like lingered for a split second when they sort of split off of each other. And in that scenario, you had to like switch everything to avoid the three. And so he ended up fouling. I mean, it's similar to the play that he made against Maxi Kleber in the regular season when the Mavs had, I think, their last win. No, I'm kidding. I think they had one more win after
by
that.
the way,
but-
speaking of the Mavs, I saw Nico Harrison do a press conference yesterday.
Yeah.
He was like slandering Dorian Finney-Smith. He was like, you know, he's a great spirit. He's a great teammate, but our defense was pretty bad when he was here as well. Like he's just making excuses.
Right.
Never hire a Nike executive to run your team, I think is the lesson.
No,
here.
no, they got to put Nick in there.
Yeah, but yeah, anyways, AD's had a history of like,
No, I mean, he's
jumping
had
out
that.
doing that.
Even when Steph hit I saw Warriors fans bring this up, but way back when Steph hit a game winner against the Pelicans when AD was
Right.
there in
That's
like
right.
2015, AD like fully tackled Steph. Steph made the shot anyway. Somehow they didn't call the foul on that.
okay, that's bad.
But yeah, no, I mean, I just think it's bad defense on AD's part. Luckily, they were able to go
AD
in
really
overtime.
wants to be Chris Bosh, eh? Wants to get that Danny Green block.
Damn.
I mean, I guess. By the way, that's one of the. I'm happy you brought that up. That is one of the greatest blocks I've seen.
Yeah.
Like just to not foul,
yeah.
and he like grabbed the ball on the way down too.
Yeah.
Man, honestly, Chris Bosh for the Heat was elite. So too for the Raptors, but
yeah.
to a lesser degree.
Damn, where are we going? No, but V, I wanted to ask you too. So Conley goes to the line, right?
Right.
And I was thinking like going to the line, having to
shoot
make
three.
3 free throws
Mhm. Yeah.
to tie the game. That's got to be the most stressful thing in basketball. I feel
Oh,
like.
it's got to be.
And like you saw the first shot, right?
Yeah.
Like it hit front rim and then it bounced in.
His face was so tense.
Yeah, so I was actually rooting for him really hard in that moment because I
Yeah.
don't want any player to be in that situation where he becomes like
Yeah.
scapegoated for the loss. But
I mean,
makes all three.
thankfully, it's a vet in Conley, so whichever
Yeah.
way it goes,
Mm.
he'll handle it, as opposed to, like, if that's, like, a super young player and that's their first playoff experience.
If that was Cat,
If that was any other
If that
player
was
on the Timberwolves,
the big meow, I'm calling him the big meow from now
Oh,
on.
man.
he got that cat in him, man.
He got that cat in him. Yeah, he makes the
But
three.
The
Yeah.
irony was, like, that was literally the first time the Wolves went to the line in the second half.
I saw a lot of complaints about that too, like big market, small market, but also like the Wolves didn't get to the basket.
Yo,
They didn't draw contact.
no, there was the stat that Kevin Pelton brought up on the Hoop Collective where he said that for the last like 9 minutes of the fourth quarter, and the Timberwolves didn't take a shot closer than 22 feet from the rim.
Okay,
Right.
there we go. I test.
I mean,
Kevin Melton, the American Joel.
No,
Fonte.
that's incredible, right?
Yeah.
So like, no, of course they had really sloppy execution, but I mean, it's funny because I didn't feel like the Lakers played like that great either. But
Oh, they were
I mean,
terrible.
the fourth quarter was disgusting.
yeah,
It
it
was
Yeah.
both sides.
It was
like,
fun,
it was
though.
just turnovers.
yeah,
It was like watching a college game, to be honest.
yeah, no,
it was
they
just-
like struggled on basic things like inbounding the ball. Austin Reeves just straight up couldn't inbound the ball
Yo,
for a while.
didn't they
then
both-
they switched
yeah.
up
They
LeBron
both
onto
give
the
they
inbound.
both gave the ball away before
Yeah.
those final possessions.
No,
Yeah.
legit. LeBron's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll do the inbounding, and then he gets to the inbound and he throws it away immediately. So it's like there's also that play where LeBron couldn't catch the ball and then like dove. To
Oh
like,
yeah, it was just a basic pass up court, right?
yeah. So I
And
mean,
even to end the game, they turned it over, and Torian Prince had
Yeah.
the three that could have tied it.
I wish he hit
that's
that
right.
three, man. I actually wanted to see double overtime.
Yo.
with this.
They should have swung it to Conley, man. But I know Prince was shooting well from the field. Who do you think Rudy Gobert was rooting for at the start of overtime, though? But no, because the two scenarios,
Nah,
it's
come
like,
on, man.
no, if the Wolves win, the narrative goes that, we don't need Rudy Gobert. The Wolves don't need Rudy in a must-win
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
Mm.
Who do you think the Wolves are rooting for? Because, they lose, and now they got to come home. Gobert's probably waiting for them at the airport because he's trying to be like a really good teammate now.
Mm.
He's like,
He's
let me
he's got a
grab your
care package
yeah,
for everyone.
let me grab your bag, Kyle, and all that stuff. And now they got to have practice today or tomorrow, and then got to welcome Rudy back, for Friday.
Man, shout out
That's
to Kyle
kinda-
Anderson, by the way, man.
Yo, you know what?
13 assists, 4 steals, 4 blocks. That's my stat line from last
All
night.
jokes
No, I'm
aside,
kidding.
and shouts to his Chinese descent. Everybody should look that up. Like,
Yep.
he's a really solid player, man.
No, for
and
sure.
he's way more
Very
vocal than I think whatever his personality is like, because he's like slow mo and like this
Yeah,
quiet
yeah.
dude, but like
Yeah,
he's a real vocal leader. I feel like
Yeah.
on that team.
yeah.
So respects to Kyle, man. Anyways,
Is he the Asian dad of this team? He might be.
Oh yeah. Asian dad. Yeah, I was gonna say something there. Anyways, Lakers now gonna play the Memphis Grizzlies, and I think that's gonna be pretty interesting.
Can't wait.
Because Dylan Brooks yesterday, said, "quote I wouldn't mind playing LeBron in a 7-game series."
Oh my
The
goodness,
legacy,
man. Dylan, man.
By the
why?
way,
Do you always have
we're gonna
to
be
say
updating
things?
you on Dylan Brooks and Thanasis throughout the playoffs. He said, "quote the legacy is there. It's for his first time back in the playoffs. Knock him out right away in the first round. It'll test us good. They got good pieces, good players. That'll be a good first round matchup for us." How are you liking this matchup, Lakers Grizzlies? V.
I definitely want the Lakers to win.
Oh, okay.
I'm tired of the Grizzlies, man. Like,
Ooh,
they
yeah,
just,
let's go.
It's just so much talk at this point, and it's like
It's
just
a lot of
wanna keep-
pre-celebration. Is all I'm saying.
yeah, no, exactly. And then it's like a lot of running up the chimney. And I'm like, all right, man, it's okay. It's
Let's
okay to
go.
just stay in the house for a change. Like, just
Wow.
Oh, damn.
like have a night in, just relax, take it easy, show up, just win. Like all the stuff with the Warriors, all like now they're gonna start stuff with the Lakers. It's like just win, and then we can talk.
Yeah, I mean X's and O's wise. Like, so Lakers are playing another team that's going to be missing some of their bigs. Like Steven Adams is ruled out for the playoffs. Brendan Clark's been out for the season. If you're just looking at this matchup, Will, like, how do you think it's going to play out?
They're gonna get Jaren Jackson Jr. in foul trouble, and then that's gonna be the key to winning. No,
No, you're right though.
like if it's gonna be Xavier Tillman and other guys trying to like plug up the middle there, I do worry. I do think that the clear advantage for the Grizzlies is how athletic they are. They can definitely get on the fast break. They play fast. The faster type of pace is going to favor them. But at the same time, like, yeah, you do have to really trust the Lakers, who are playing a lot better. I mean, even last night, I didn't think they played great, but, you know, you saw the resilience. You saw some of the other guys step up, like even Rui Hachimura being able to close out a game and hit some timely shots. Obviously, Schroeder did that, but they have different options, too. So I do think for the Lakers, like, obviously, they need to get better performances from like D'Angelo Russell. He went 1 for 9, made some good passes as he usually does, but 1 for 9 obviously is not great. I thought Reeves also played a lot lower than his standard recently. There was maybe a little bit of like nervousness that goes into it, but hopefully, having gone through this experience, like you do feel like they have the advantage against Memphis. But at the same time, like I just also think that the subplots are going to be great, right? Like this is the one matchup that is going to cause the most like debates that end up going on. Like I'm sure Dylan Brooks is going to be in the news every single day for the next 2 weeks.
That's what I do. I talk.
Yeah.
That's literally no. Like,
no,
what do you think? What do you think Dylan Brooks is going to do with LeBron over the course of 7 games?
Well, first of all, I think he's going to show up to game 1 wearing that Shannon Sharp cardigan. Like, I really think he's going to do that.
That's very good.
I
like that.
If I was his stylist, that's what I would suggest. Especially
Are we
based on what
going to
he's
see
doing.
any Lance Stevenson inspired moves?
Oh my!
Is he gonna
You know
blow
what?
in the air?
This is a Lance LeBron type level matchup.
Yeah, you're
LeBron
right.
always gets himself. And I mean, Dylan Brooks is not a scrub, but like LeBron always gets himself into like these rivalries with like role players. You know, where's LeBron's big rivalry?
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. You're right. You're right. I hear you. You're right.
Can we just get better beefs? No, but you're right though. This is gonna be the most like social media heavy
Yeah.
series.
How did you guys feel about watching LeBron last night? Like,
I was
obviously the numbers were all there.
There
but-
were there were some turnovers that were questionable in the fourth quarter, but like I mean, when
it
they
wasn't
needed
like
him,
vintage LeBron,
Yeah,
but he
but-
made all the plays you needed.
yeah, when they needed him, he hit that 3 from the same spot actually from when he saw 3 rims
Oh,
against Steph Curry.
so tired,
couple
man.
plays.
That's what happens when you play like 18 years or whatever. Like it's just like, man, I'm so sick of this. No, but I do think that like there was a level of intensity that he was able to access. Like there were plays where he would like chase down, block at the rim, then break the other way in transition, then finish, and then come back. And it's like that's impressive. Like I actually thought that those days might be sort of like gone from. Like I think the skill wise that's always going to be there for him, especially for a guy who's been so accomplished and trained so much. But like to maintain that level of endurance and athleticism, especially with him playing through injury, which we know that's the case because LeBron told us.
That's right.
So like, yeah, I'm still very impressed by LeBron. Even the game-winning assist, for example, that was a great play.
That was a great play.
You could tell the whole time what he was going to do. But of course, the Timberwolves all collapsed. Like 5 guys collapsed on him in the paint, and he's like, yeah, easy kick out. So. No, obviously I trust LeBron.
Yeah, what do you think, V2? Because I know Joe Cash was here talking about this yesterday too, and I do agree with him. With the way the Lakers have like reconstructed themselves post deadline now, you look at their record since then. You look at how LeBron and AD are playing. Obviously, if they stay healthy, like can you see the Lakers coming out of the West?
I don't know about coming out of the West. I think but I definitely think they can win this series.
Yeah.
Like, not just from I think the Grizzlies are annoying.
Well, that's the only reason why I'm picking the Lakers. But yeah.
No, I legit think they can be the better team in this series. I think that, it's going to come down to who can attack the paint better. I think both teams are very strong inside. Obviously, John Morant is one of the best at getting to the basket. But I think if LeBron and AD can do damage while also protecting the paint, and again, getting Jaren Jackson Jr. in foul trouble will probably be a huge factor. And then with the reconstruction of the roster, just getting enough from the outside for the Lakers will be a huge deal, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If D'Angelo Russell can make enough shots, Austin Reeves kind of picks up from, goes back to what we saw in the regular season, not that play-in game. I think that will be enough for them to get through this series. And then I would say they would definitely have a legit shot against, the Kings or
The Warriors.
The Warriors, right? Obviously less of a shot against the Warriors, but I think that would be a competitive series, but that's probably where I draw the line for them.
No, that's interesting. Most likely 2 players again to a fight in this series. Got to be Schroeder and Brooks.
Ooh.
I think it has to be Schroeder.
Can Dylan Brooks like flip Dennis Schroeder? Because every time I see Dennis Schroeder, it's not necessarily like what he does.
While he's doing that.
No, honestly, someone should, when he was doing this, someone should have like flipped him upside down. Literally, like the OG move against Dennis Schroeder is what I'm referring to from the bubble or from the Tampa season. But no, I mean like Dylan Brooks. There's definitely going to be beef. Like it's guaranteed to be beef in this series. Yeah. Like and for no specific reason. I don't think the Lakers are trying to beef with them. But
that's what I do. I talk.
This is what the Grizzlies do, man. Yeah. So I'm excited to see this. This is going to be blockbuster. I mean, it's not going to be the highest quality of basketball. I'm not going to lie. Like quality of basketball-wise, I probably look,
You're not going to be taking your eyes off.
Clippers. I might look at that one more
You can't
closely,
take your eyes off this one, though.
No, I can't. And you're never going to be able to, like, something very memorable is going to happen from this series. So I would say I'm looking forward to it. But also, like, you got to give Dylan Brooks some credit, too. Like, he's also a really good defender. He's going to make LeBron work.
Yeah, no, it'll be a fun matchup on the court. It's just, there's going to be extracurriculars.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be a lot of extracurriculars. We were talking about this, too, V.
By the way, is this why they signed Tristan Thompson? Is he like remember when the Cavs signed Dante Jones for their playoff run?
That's right.
And he would only come in to, like, put a hit on people? Like, be like, oh, Bismack Biyom's got 20 rebounds. Let's sub in Dante Jones.
It's
and maybe
time for a cheap shot.
Yeah, like, is that what Tristan's role is? Because someone on the timeline yesterday was just like, wow, the Lakers really just got Tristan courtside tickets for the whole playoff run. But, like, eventually you're going to have to pay for those. So if Tristan's on the court at any point against the Grizzlies, I need a Woj alert and a Shams alert to my phone directly.
Remember when Dante Jones, you mentioned, like, signs at the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
So I think they, like, prorate his salary.
The fines, yeah.
So then the fines were literally like $10,000 for every, like, chop to the head of another player. Like, that's actually a great loophole by these NBA teams. And remember LeBron being like, I'll pay all of those.
Yeah.
While, like, Dante is just in the corner. So
they got to do it to whoever has the highest salary on the team.
Yeah, no, I think that's that's fair. That's a little pocket watching. No, we were talking about, too, earlier this week. I think Will and I might have been talking about this off air, just like trying to come up with an NBA like most hated team. Like in terms of like players who are like villains,
right?
And guys that just like get under people's skin. So like Dylan Brooks is on that list, right?
I think Gobert has to be on that list. No one likes Gobert.
Okay, if your own teammate punches you, you are automatically first ballot Hall of Famer on this team. Draymond, I think, would go on this list as well.
Probably. Although I think everyone respects Draymond. They just probably
yes, but he gets under like people's skin.
Yeah.
Pat Beverly.
Yeah, Pat Bev. Yeah. That's how the conversation started, actually, because we were talking Raptors-Bulls.
Do you feel like people will get annoyed at Steven Adams, but they just can't fight him because he's too much, like he's too big for everybody to fight?
Yeah.
Because I feel like people take shots at Steven Adams a lot.
Yeah, but they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, so they can't fight him. They just got to like sit there and pout.
Has Serge ever fought Steven? No, but they were teammates though.
They were teammates.
Okay, so they didn't fight. I put CP3 on this list too, just because he just annoys.
Yeah. No, I see that.
Yeah.
I see that for sure.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to think of more. Those are the main ones that I came up with. Did I miss any key people?
Pretty good.
And I was trying to think too.
I mean, the commonality is that everyone plays defense on that group.
Yeah.
Like the more you play defense, the more people are going to be annoyed at you.
I mean, Kyle got hated on when he played defense in the All-Star game. Remember that? Remember how everyone was so upset he was drawing charges?
I mean,
in the fourth quarter.
Have you seen a charge in the All-Star game?
Have you seen a good All-Star game since?
That's true.
I was trying to think too. Top five players most hated by just the Raptors fan base.
Well, Joel's got to be in
Yeah,
there.
Joel Embiid's there.
Yeah.
Anytime
Somehow-
any of us talk about him winning MVP, we get tomatoes thrown at us.
Well, I'm like, yeah, Joel's a really good player. You know, he's leading the league in scoring, and everyone's like, boo. I was like, all right.
They literally reply on Twitter just writing boo. Anyone
Marcus
else?
Smart.
Yeah.
Marcus
Okay.
that's
Smart.
it, yeah.
I put Goran Dragic in here
'Cause
too,
r-
just because he's most hated. Like,
Did
it's a
Marcus
legacy
Smart
here.
like he did the Paul Pierce thing, right? Like he took the Game of Thrones like after the
Oh,
Celtics
did he do
won
that?
that series.
Oh, yeah. He
Yeah,
tweeted
yeah,
it,
okay.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
tweeted out a
In the
picture of him
bubble.
on the throne. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did call himself, I think, King of the North. or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Goran is there. I put LeBron there
LeBron's
too.
gotta be
Nobody
there.
ever
Come
wants
on.
to hear
LeBron's
any
definitely in there.
revisits of LeBronto or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including, I remember Sportsnet put out like a top 10 LeBron highlights against Toronto last year.
We had nothing
And,
to do with that, to be
And
clear.
tomatoes
it's a large company.
tomatoes were thrown at the social media account.
That's fair. I might have thrown one myself.
Yeah, so that was a most hated list, I think. So
It's pretty good.
yeah. All right.
Sounds
That
about
was 25 minutes of not Raptors Bulls. So let's take a break and then we'll finally get to it.
I can't wait.
Raptors
All right.
Bulls.
We're going to take that break. I've been your host, Walu, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Wayne Lou, and continue to be joined by Alex Wong and Vivek Jacob as we look ahead to tonight's play-in matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Chicago Bulls. Alex, what do you got for us?
It's here, man. It's here. I was thinking too, there's so much talk this week about like Bulls, Raptors, and like winning the possession battle. I feel like they should just put the possessions up on the scoreboard tonight. I think the winner of possessions should just win. How about we just change the game? No points.
We're just assuming. Possessions. We're just gonna assume. We're just assuming right away that there's gonna be a lot of misses and therefore a lot of possessions to be won. Yeah.
To be fair, Raptors would still win probably 96-88. It'd be the same score. I feel like
we need like a negative box score. You know what I mean? Like how many shots missed. How many turnovers?
Yep.
Just a negative aspect.
No, a pure basketball game just isn't enough for me for this 9-10.
That's not how we play, man. We don't play pure basketball. We play anti-basketball.
Yeah, Vivek Jacob, I know you put up a preview of the series today.
You can head to Raptors.com and check it out.
And I saw, you had an article published at Raptors.com over the weekend. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
When I know you've been watching film, studying this, and we've talked a lot about this series. As you can tell, I'm trying to avoid it. But if there is one thing that you want to point to, right, like all these different matchups and like storylines that we're looking at, like what is the one thing you're looking at tonight in terms of what's going to determine who wins tonight's game?
I think when you look at what Chicago and Toronto have been really effective at is Chicago actually has forced the fourth most turnovers since getting Pat Beverly, and Toronto, as we know, are really good at that. They've forced the second most since getting Jakob Poeltl, and so I think that's kind of what the game comes down to. In the matchup itself, the Raptors have actually been better at executing that. Over the 3 games, they've been able to force 59 turnovers, but they've only turned it over 36 times, and so if they can maintain that, I think that'll be a big advantage. I think the thing you just have to be really smart about is, when you're going up against guys like Alex Caruso and Dosunmu and Pat Williams, like those guys are really good at, batting the ball away, not committing fouls. So that's the other impressive thing about Chicago is like they force the 4th most turnovers, but they also they foul like the 4th least, which is something the Raptors don't do. The Raptors foul a lot. Right. And so I think that's something, if you're the Raptors, you're going into this game, you're 28th in free throw attempt rate. So you're not getting to the line. If they're constantly, hacking at the ball and getting it away and you're not getting the whistle, you can't get caught up in that. That's something that Chicago is just good at. And you're not good at getting to the line. So what are you really complaining about? Right. You can't get sucked into that. And so I think that turnover battle is going to be huge.
Yeah. What about you, Will? What's your one thing? Shout out A-Marie.
Shout out to A-Marie, man. That one thing is her one song too, by the way.
She got at least. Oh,
no,
okay.
she doesn't.
Let me look it up.
But it's simplistic to say this, but it's really going to come down to which of the role players can hit their shots consistently from 3 in particular. I think both teams are going to put a lot of attention towards the top options, and the ball is going to be most open on the perimeter for both sides, knowing that both sides are not great 3-point shooting teams. And because this is a 1-game, play-in, anything can happen, right? So it could be a scenario where like Caruso, who's not typically a good 3-point shooter, gets into a rhythm and he knocks down like 3 or 4. Or like, on the Raptors side, Scotty, who, could knock down like 3 or 4 threes, and that could really swing it in their favor. So I think that's more than anything else that's been the big differential here. It's also one thing watching the 2 games last night. It was a good reminder of like just how intense these games will be. And so you have to have the mental toughness to play through mistakes. Obviously, you got to manage the timeouts well and sort of stop the game when you need to, right? Don't let it get out of hand. Don't let them build a big lead. And, of course, when those dry spells happen, like, you still have to maintain your composure more than anything else. Because, like, even, like, last night, for example, with the Lakers, like, they went through dry spells themselves in the fourth quarter. It's not like their offense was humming, but they're able to keep going. And that's the whole game. Like, you're not going to have the same rhythm that you would in the regular season of, like, the other team's just going to fold for a while, or their bench is going to come in and play their minutes because, the second half of back-to-back, and they got to limit, how much they overextend the starters. Like, you have to be focused for the whole game, and that's like a mental discipline in addition to, the regular stuff of having to make shots. So we'll see how mentally sort of tough the Raptors are in a game like this.
Yeah.
You mentioned the bench. Would you pick one guy that you think is going to make the difference tonight?
I mean, I think the easy and the right answer is definitely Gary. But to me, it's like whichever big the Raptors end up playing off the bench, we'll see if Nick is courageous enough to turn to a guy like Christian Koloko, for example. But I just want my bench bigs, whichever it's going to be in terms of Christian or Chris or Precious, like these guys have to be able to box out Andre Drummond. The last thing I want to see is the Bulls get like 5 or 6 extra possessions because Drummond is just like throwing these guys around.
Mhm.
And that physicality will be there, and the whistle will be different in terms of allowing that to happen. So the Raptors really need to sort of not just outwork Drummond on the boards, but also break out in transition and use their advantage in speed to sort of get on the open floor and sort of capitalize on him on that front, because the Bulls are going to have size in the middle at all times.
Yeah, I think someone like Chris too, coming off the bench with like his energy and his hustle, could play like a huge part in tonight's game. And he's never been shy to take those 3-pointers when it's there for him. I know he hasn't shot it great from 3 this year, but you talk about in a 1-game sample.
Yep.
I think for me, if 2 guys, I'm gonna invoke the Svi Mihailik rule. I think if two guys on the Raptors hit 3 or more threes, that might be enough of a bar for the Raptors to move on. No, like for real though, like I look at even the Timberwolves last night, like they hit 16 threes, and that was a huge reason why they almost pulled off that upset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you just get a couple guys, like you mentioned, I think Gary is someone, that could, go off for whatever, 20, 25 points here. Someone like Chris as well. Who's a one player? Like who do you think is like the most important player tonight for the Raptors, V? Because I think, you look at the starting lineup too. I know there's been a lot of talk about the matchup of OG against DeMar.
Yeah.
And obviously you can look at Scotty, you can look at Fred, and obviously Pascal as well, right? Like, as the number one guy on this team. Like who's the one guy that you're kind of keying in on, looking at like how they're going to perform tonight?
Yeah, I think it is OG. I think when you look at the matchup with DeMar, he's done a good job of that throughout the games that they've had against each other so far. DeMar's just averaged 14 points a game against the Raptors, and a lot of that, has been OG doing the work early, denying him the ball, making him catch it as far out as possible. And then on top of that, there's been good help. And so the Raptors have to be, good with their scramble sort of sequences after that and, rotations. But I think OG is going to be really critical on that end of the floor. And then on the other end as well, you got to put pressure on DeMar defensively, right? Like you can't let him catch a break there. And so when the Bulls like to match DeMar with Scotty, but if you can get out in transition, semi-transition, and not allow them to make that switch, then you get OG into those possessions. He's got to look to attack him. And to OG's credit, that last game where, the Raptors had Pirtle, the Bulls had Beverly, OG did a really good job of attacking DeMar on the other end as well. Even in the fourth quarter, he had that monster dunk all over him. Mm-hmm. And so I think OG has elevated his play to the point where I think he can be the biggest differentiator tonight.
Yeah, and Will, on the topic of that, DeMar was at morning shoot around this morning. He was asked about OG, and he said that, quote, he's definitely become an elite perimeter defender in this league, and it started with me kicking his ass in practice every day. And then, DeMar was asked by the local reporters about his favorite postseason memory in this building. He talked about Game 6 of the 2016 conference finals and just getting chills walking off the court after the season ended. That was famously when, LeBron complimented the Toronto crowd. I'm sure you remember.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Very clearly. I wouldn't pick that as my favorite postseason memory.
Favorite. Why did he pick Game 4 when he had a really good fourth quarter?
No, they lost this game by like 30. So
yeah. And then he talked about his connection to Toronto. Said, quote, I was a kid when I came here. I didn't know a damn thing about nothing. My whole understanding of being an adult started here. Being a father, understanding how to be a professional basketball player, just a genuine connection from day one. This is, obviously the main kind of narrative storyline coming into this matchup.
Yeah, listen, I think Drake said it best. City love me like I'm DeMar DeRozan. Everyone loves DeMar DeRozan in Toronto, right? Like, obviously, he deserves a ton of respect for everything he's done here. My personal feeling on this is just like, how are you making this all about DeMar, and how much more can we welcome DeMar in an opponent where he's the opponent right now? Like, can we get this clear? Like, he's the opponent right now.
Should we retire his jersey before the game tonight?
Well, I mean, based on the reception he's gotten so far, it feels like they're gonna, right? Because like again, like he is the opponent right now. He's gotten more love in the previews and all the conversations, and I've been to the practices in Toronto. I've obviously heard the pregame here as well. There's been so much love given to DeMar, and I'm like, absolutely, he deserves this and more. But afterwards, please ask them. You know what? If the Raptors win tonight, someone should go to the podium and ask DeMar DeRozan, "What's your favorite playoff moment?" And what do you feel when you come back to Toronto? Because you know what I mean. Like he's the opponent right now. Like we're doing way too much, man. Well, like there's like you go through and you listen to the practice interviews and it's like how was DeMar to you as a vet? I'm like I don't care right now. No offense. Like, no offense. Like, he's the opponent right now. Do we understand this? Like, we would not do this for anybody else. And obviously, DeMar is much more special to our hearts as Raptor fans than anyone else. But right now, he's the opponent. We got to make that very clear. Like, I'm not saying that reporters have to be hostile towards DeMar, a guy who's done a great job in terms of dealing with the media. And so, obviously, he's going to be treated with lots of respect in addition to what he did on the court. But, like, we have to make this clear, man. He is the opponent right now. Like, please. We should be focusing on how to stop him and how to attack him. That's it. Afterwards, we can lionize him when we want.
All right. If Nick Nurse has got his mind on Houston, they should use that as a pregame speech.
No, this applies to when they play. If they win tomorrow, and the conversation is gonna be like, "Hey, what was Kyle like to you as a vet?" Like, "Hey, Kyle, remember how much you loved driving on the QEW and the DVP and like oh my God, the championship and the assist records and all this." No, like afterwards, please. Like they're the opponent right now, and you have to win tonight. I don't want to make him feel any more comfortable than he needs to be.
Yeah. What do you think about this hater speech from Wilvey?
I get where Will is coming from. I think it's reasonable to be like, hey, man, he's the opponent. Like, you're just trying to win a game tonight. Yeah. Like, I remember even, when DeMar had that first game back, it was a lot of love, right? But when Kawhi and Kyle double-teamed DeMar and got that steal, the Raptors fans were ecstatic.
Yeah. It
wasn't like anyone was feeling for DeMar in that situation, right? They just wanted to win the game. And so that's the approach tonight. Just win the game. And, maybe there's some like Raptors fans who still, feel a little bit of a way about, winning the championship without DeMar. And it's like, oh, okay, let him have this one,
Which you shouldn't feel that way. The whole goal is to win the championship.
This can be like his championship kind of thing,
No, that should not be the thinking at all.
But I'm saying I do think there are some people who feel that way.
Sure.
Right? Like, I've seen tweets that people are like, I'm ready for DeMar to like bury us at the buzzer. Right? Like
what are we doing? What are we doing?
No, I think that part is just more. I think a lot of Raptors fans are just frustrated with this season.
Yeah, and I think
I think that's part of it too. I think some people are just like, hey, this team is not going to accomplish anything in the postseason anyway. So
I don't think that's unfair to think.
But can we at least play the games first? I mean, I agree with you for sure. Like that's not how the season has trended. Obviously, if you know what's going on behind the scenes, all this kind of stuff, like this is not sort of the way you would predict this to go. But at least play the games first. That's what we're here to do in the first place, right? Now you're in this position here. If you win the play-in here, it'll be pretty lit. If you win on Friday, it'll be really lit. And then you go into Milwaukee, which obviously is gonna be a tough series. But if you take any games out of that, we'll guarantee to be excited, right? The whole point of this is to like actually take something out of it. And if there's gonna be one damn positive that comes out of the season, it needs to be right now. And so that's why I don't want to hear about this like nostalgia about like DeMar DeRozan. Like enough. Like really, it's enough. I get it. Like the times with DeMar are a lot better than the times we're having right now. But we're in right now. You can't live in the past. So like. Like when DeMar checks in the game.
Why'd you look at me so closely when you said you can't live in the past?
No, when DeMar checks in the game tonight, is it going to be a loud standing ovation? Are people going to be wearing DeMar DeRozan jerseys to this thing? Like, what are we doing here, man? Would you wear a LeBron James jersey to when the Raptors play the Cavs? No.
I mean, if I paid $700 for a ticket, can't afford another jersey. Maybe.
No, man, just wear the free T-shirt. Put it on.
Oh yeah,
man.
We didn't even speculate about the tee.
Oh yeah, the play-in tees.
A play-in tee? Okay, I'm finally excited for this game. No, I'm with you. I think. Everything that you said, plus like I don't know about you guys, but I know the whole narrative is like, oh, they could have to go through DeMar and Kyle to like get to the.
I don't care.
No, to like.
I don't care.
It's not even that I don't care. Like for me, it's like those narratives are like over already. Like DeMar had his run here.
They're gone.
He already went to San Antonio. This is his second team now since Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto's closed the book on the championship after acquiring Kawhi.
Yep.
Like Kyle had his run here and a full storyline here, winning the championship. Like to me, I actually don't. Maybe this is just me, but like I don't feel any nostalgia. I don't feel anything about them having to go through DeMar and Kyle. That would have been a cool story. I don't know, like maybe the year after they like immediately traded for DeMar, right? Like everyone has moved on, including the Raptors organization.
No, Masai said it himself, man. He said it himself. Like no one's thinking about the championship anymore. Like 2019 is over, and he said this like a year ago.
Yeah, for me, it's about ending Patrick Beverley's play-in streak. And ending,
you cannot have that man celebrating
and ending Udonis Haslem's career, like that. That to me is the push for this week.
Bulletin board.
And for me, all I want to see is this Raptors group come together, play hard, and what are they made of? Like, what is their character? Forget all the other stuff. Forget, like, okay, Nick's off quitting on the season. Forget, like, all the other stuff about, like, how the season was disappointing or, like, how they came up short in fourth quarters. Like, you're in this position now. You still have an opportunity to play through it. So, like, I actually want to see the Raptors play through it. And that's a sign of their character, right? That's one of the things I do admire for a guy like Kyle or a guy like DeMar is that, like, they had adversity in Toronto and then they overcame it to certain degrees, right? Eventually they ran into problems, but, like, for a long time they couldn't win after a first round, right? But, of course, that's what the playoff experience did for them, right? And they were able to get tougher and tougher as sort of those heartbreaks happen. So I'm hoping for that to, you know, for this to be a very important lesson for the Raptors no matter what. Because, again, like, you can only make the best of the situation we're in right now.
Look, for the players, like, the best way in sports to show respect is to compete. And so for all the love that you have for DeMar, all the love that you might have for Kyle, the best way to show that love and that respect is to go at him as hard as you can.
Agreed. Yep.
Use all those secrets that you know from practicing against him, all those seasons that you spent together with him. Use that, empty the clip tonight and then potentially on Friday.
Yeah.
What a path to the 8th seed, man. No, V, you mentioned this earlier too. You're like, oh, some fan bases are like, oh, some fans are like, oh, I hope DeMar just, like, you know, buries the game-winning shot, ends the season. What do you make too when you look at the Raptors too of, like, oh, what they can get out of this, like, these 2 games in the play-in? Because, like, Will was referencing that too, right? Like, forget about the regular season type. Like, let's get salvage something, make something out of this. Do you see a silver lining of them, like, winning 2 games this week?
I don't know if I'd call it a silver lining, but I think there's still more that can be learned about this team if you can get into a playoff environment and get into a series against the Bucks. And so if you are able to come through these 2 games, then that's more information that you can gain about, you know, Yak at center against a Bucks type, you know, drop defense going up against Brook Lopez. What does that look like? You can get more information about, you know, Scotty going in that matchup, you know, and you can just evaluate more, you know, Pascal, you know, in his role. What does that look like going up against the Bucks, who are obviously, like, to me, they're the favorite to win the title. And so I think that information is there for you if you can make it through these 2 games. And so that could clarify what your offseason plans need to be even more. And so for me, that would be something worth fighting for.
Yeah. So you still think there's things to learn? Things that'll inform the offseason?
I think I mean, look, the front office is not going to make a decision just based on what happens in the play-in. Maybe in a full course of a playoff series, 1 game is just too much to sort of put weight in. But at the same time, like, I think for more than anything else, like, it's a learning process of how to fight, how to handle the pressure of this game, how to even manage the emotions that come into a game like this, right? We might say, oh, it's just a play-in. We've seen other things. A lot of these guys have it on the roster. We're talking about the championship year. Of course, other guys, you know, have played in the playoffs before too, but, like, there's a certain preparation that goes into this. Like, even for me, as just a fan and a media member covering this, I couldn't sleep really for much of the night just thinking about this play-in matchup.
That's your problem. Take those problems offline.
No, I'm serious, man. So, like, there's a learning process that comes with all of this, right? Manage expectations, coming into the game. What happens if your shot's not falling? How do you play in different ways? Like, I'm looking to see that fight and that character from the Raptors. More than anything else, we've seen the Raptors not fight in a lot of this season. That's what's disappointing. When they went into Boston, what happened? They just rolled over and they splintered. And I hate that, right? And so can they, when they need to, when there's nothing else, because you literally have to win or you're going home, what can they do in this moment? It's a real sign of character of what they can do. So, yes, of course I'm going to be excited rooting for this game. And for me, like, it's going to be very informative to see how the players react to this moment.
Man, the booth is going to be fun tonight, man.
I'm going to be booing DeMar the whole time. I'm sorry, man. He's the enemy right now.
I feel like Bulls beat reporters should have, in the same way that we asked about DeMar, should have asked the Raps about Otto Porter.
Or Thad Young?
He's a former Bull.
Exactly. Do you think Steph Noe and Casey Johnson was like, hey, Zach, you know, what's it going to feel like to see Thad Young again? Wasn't he a great vet for you? Like, man, I don't want to hear this right now. You know what I mean? You'd be laughed out of the Chicago, whatever radio stations they got over there.
WGN?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now it's time for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. It's our first play-in tournament edition of Between the Lines. We got Big V here with us as well. I want to switch it up a little bit, Will.
Oh, okay.
Wanted to make you guess the line before I give you the line. Oh, it's so fun.
Hey.
Toronto Raptors, 27-14 at home, hosting the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, it's not that uneven of a matchup, but I think that with the Raptors being at home, I think typically I've heard Blake say that was like worth 3 points. So I'm going to say that's 3 points. And then I think the Raptors have the slight edge in addition. So I'm going to say like 4.5.
Damn, pretty close. Raptors are -6. 6-point favorites.
Sorry. Did I say that out loud? My bad. Did I say that out loud?
This guy's always shook unless it's Raps -0.5. So Raptors are 6-point favorites tonight here in Toronto. So it's time for the official prediction. V, I will start with you.
I'm going to pick the Raptors to win this game. I will probably,
this guy's hedging already.
I'll probably take the Bulls to cover.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think the Raptors will win this game. Number 9 seed is 4-0 against the 10 seed, so no pressure.
Yeah, Raps could make history. Bad history tonight. Yeah. So he's got the Raptors to win, the Bulls to cover.
Do you think we'll do you think we'll win a close game against them? Like in a close game, which if it is close down the stretch, like which team has the advantage in execution?
I think the Raptors would need to be front runners. Like whether it's a 2-point lead, 3-point lead, I think they would like if they're the ones that are down a couple, then I'd be nervous. But close game if they have the advantage, I trust them to close it out.
Okay.
Will, what's your pick?
I'm gonna pick the Raptors. That's what I've done all season, and it's worked for me half the time.
Sorry, Mark Savell, you've been following his picks all season and putting money on it.
No, listen, I mean, like the Raptors gonna be at home, obviously. I do think that it's gonna really come down to sort of if the Raptors start well, because if the Raptors, the pattern this season, like you can tell what the Raptors are gonna be about that night in the first 5 minutes. Right. And if I do think that if the Raptors get off to a good start, which I do think will happen in this scenario, I think there's multiple areas in which the Raptors can play through. You can play through Scottie, you can play through OG, you can play through Pascal in this matchup, you can play through the pick and roll in the middle. And of course, if Nick Nurse does what I think Nick Nurse is going to do in this matchup, which is to play his starters 40 minutes, then I do think that the Raptors starters are better than Chicago starters. So I will pick Toronto. And if they lose, then get ready for a generational react pod because you can already tell I'm quite cranky as it is.
Oh, he's so cranky. I'm going to go with the Bulls +6. Raptors just haven't earned my trust all season. And,
that's fair. You've been consistent on that point.
At any point that they've had to, I can't even count on one hand like all the scenarios where they've stepped up in like a must-win scenario. I know the home court advantage is good. The Bulls aren't even that good of a team, but I don't know. Raps have been giving us signs that they're ready for the season to end, so I'm going to go with Bulls +6.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready. But anyway, that was Between the Lines brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. And that does it for us today. I've been your host, Walu, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. Reminder, streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks once again to Vivek Jacob, board producer and co-host Alex Wong, our board producer Derek Brandell, and Jennifer Owen for helping with the YouTube stream. Raptors, please win tonight.
He stayed in our hearts. He stayed in our hearts. Not mine.